Hey, you ever have to stop the game?
Yes, you mean like for replay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
stop the game all the
our
time.
yeah, right. Our friends from Australia, specifically Greg Evers, they had to stop. They had to stop the game for a different reason.
Those
Now,
German shepherds?
I feel like this is a controversial play. No, they're not German shepherds. These are kangaroos. These are kangaroos on the field. So we wanted to
Oh
just
my
kick this
goodness.
session off. We're just going right into it. We wanted to really break this down,
Right.
and so people are joining, and so this is controversial because don't you think this could be a peel back low block right here? You see
It
how he
was.
fixes.
Absolutely.
Did he get him with the tail? I mean, did he get him with the tail?
Well, I don't think it was contact, but my issue is that the line of scrimmage official wasn't even prepared to work that
He's
action.
not working the block at all. The
Well,
back judge
and
is
the
ready to go.
The center judge, and look at the back judge. The back judge signals touchdown based on that kangaroo right there.
I don't think that kangaroo had possession, though, to be perfectly honest.
I don't think the back judge was in position for that either, but we wanted to. What a great thank you to Greg for sending this to us. This is unbelievable.
I like how the
whoever had
linebacker
to
thinks
stop it.
about tackling that one, and then he's like, "No, I'm not going to touch that thing."
He did. He thought about it for a second, Corey.
Yeah, he kind of
was-
lunges at it. He's
pretty
like,
good.
"Nah, I'll pass."
It's
Yeah,
probably a good
but,
idea that
I
he
mean,
passed.
We do
those things
have
can-
to really think about our mechanics on this low block and this touchdown, though.
Those things really cruise. Holy cow! I never knew kangaroos were that fast.
Oh yeah. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Doing awesome.
Doing better now, baby.
So
Greg, thank you so much for sharing this
Oh, yeah.
this with us.
This is hilarious. Kangaroos on the field. Back judge gives the touchdown signal. Oh, this is outstanding. So what do you guys look? All of a sudden, we're in the middle of December. It's like, what season is this? We're getting into postseason. As part of the postseason, a lot of the postseason's already been played, honestly.
Oh, you mean like
This
FCS
is like
playoffs?
to me. Oh yeah, they're already going into the what semifinals?
Semis. Yep, semifinals this
Yeah,
weekend.
Yeah,
I think Division
D2,
Two
D3.
championship is this weekend or maybe next weekend.
Division
Yeah.
3 is Friday night. I know that.
Yeah, I think-
Who's in that game, Daniel?
I hope
don't-
that
There's
trash
a
team is not in there.
little team by the name of Mary Hardin
Oh,
Baylor that maybe you've heard of, the Crusaders, playing for another national championship Friday night. ESPNU. Can't miss TV.
Oh, wow.
Must see TV, I think is the phrase.
Maybe I'll
Playing,
miss it.
I don't know who they're playing, but look, it's really academic at this point. It doesn't matter.
Well, we got warmed up with the Kangaroos on the field, and I saw the line judge in that play step up. It's time for, if you've got another game, it's time to step up, right? I mean, it's been time to step up the whole season, but it's really time to step up now because the games are meaningful more than ever. Now, I know every game's meaningful, right, Tuta?
They are.
Absolutely. Every game is meaningful. But, these games, as we get going, are absolutely as meaningful as them all.
Why is every
So-
game meaningful?
Well,
Well,
Daniels, I'm glad you asked that question. Since you asked it,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everybody who straps on those pads and ties up those shoes, for some of those people, every game could be their last game.
Yeah.
For some of those people, they may have an opportunity to get some snaps in that they've never ever saw the field before. How about Kansas number 47? If anybody watches Big 12 football, against Texas in I don't know what week that was. This guy had never played an offensive snap. He ended up catching the 2-point conversion that won the game for Kansas at Texas. And then the dude turned into basically a cult hero.
Yeah.
And who would have thought that game was important? Texas was on a 6-game losing streak. Kansas was not doing so well in the season, but that game meant a lot to somebody.
Hey
So I
man,
think
that
every
was
game
our game
means
this year, and we dubbed that game. Hey, somebody's got to win.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and it's funny on that play, that guy number 47, he came out and he was my initial key. And I looked at him, I was like, there is absolutely zero chance this guy's involved in this play whatsoever. It shows you know how much I know about pre-snap reads. So
that's funny, Corey.
Yeah.
So, Corey, hold on, time out. Weren't you involved in the Texas at Kansas game where Kansas won and they tore the goalpost down?
Yep. I've seen Kansas lose to the Jayhawks twice now. Once at home, once on the road.
I'll be doggone.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy how that thing works out.
Don't let that get out. Those folks are crazy.
Right.
Still carrying the goalpost through downtown Lawrence, aren't they?
Yeah, I know one of them ended up in the bottom of a lake somewhere on campus, you know, because
the other one's in somebody's yard.
Okay, I didn't know that one.
Oh.
No, I made that up. Just
okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good point, too, Todd. I think I agree with everything you said, but I would also suggest that every game matters for us because our job isn't really relative to the magnitude of the game in terms of level of competition or like exposure or scrutiny. Like our job, really for us, this is dramatic, I know, but I'm being sincere, and I think it's relevant and can be helpful to us in terms of focus and concentration. Our job, every single play, Matt, like our job is from the time the game starts to the time the game ends. We have our job is that entire expanse, and our motivation isn't like what kind of football it is. It's about the officiating and being great at what we do on a game-by-game basis and then a snap-by-snap basis. That was a perspective I really tried to be intentional to adopt this year. Nothing else matters because I'll be transparent. You guys know this. Like blowout officiating is not really my thing. Like I kind of this game's over. Who cares? And so to combat that, I really tried to adopt it to my job doesn't have anything to do with other than officiating this play. And that can be a million different things we know, right? From judgment to management to calling a foul, all of those different things to physical mechanics, to visual mechanics. But that's our responsibility. So regardless of the football, our job, every snap matters. And again, I realize that sounds a little dramatic, but I really think that's a great attitude. It was really beneficial to me this year. You know, sometimes because you go to those games and you're like, it's going to be tough to get focused for this one.
Right.
Las Cruces, here we come. But if you can adopt that every snap matters, it was like, because the battle is against yourself. And can you perform at a high level every single play? So yeah, I agree. Every game matters. Every snap matters because we're about officiating and every play has to be officiated. So that's my soapbox. I'll probably turn off the mic.
Well, it's funny you say every snap matters, Daniel. You say that's maybe being dramatic because you would think that, okay, end of the game, we're going to take a knee. That snap doesn't matter. Not a big deal. Speaking as someone who had some challenges with kneel downs, I would say three different games. We had interesting challenges with kneel downs at the end of a game. Now, how is that possible? I don't know. But
they're taking a knee. They're taking a knee.
I'm aware. But let me tell you, we do have to be focused every snap all the way until zeros are on the clock. Or if you're in the game with Brandon, he leaves before zeros are on the clock. So
when it's appropriate, this game will humble you. And by the way, the crew that you're surrounded with will humble you even more.
Right.
But don't you want to leave that game? You want to be able to walk away and be like, dude, that kneel down was crazy. And we were all over that. I was locked in and we handled every aspect of that great. Like that's what you want to be able to do.
I can tell you I learned something from three different kneel downs this year. I can tell you that.
3 kneel downs.
Oh,
that's correct.
That's amazing.
I'm terrified.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations to everybody out there. Everything's well deserved, but we don't ever define ourselves by one assignment. Isn't that true, Mr. Young?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you get it, you don't. That's not the definition of your identity in this business. And if you let it be, you're on the wrong path because there's so much more. There's so much more to what we do. But
and you're gonna, for 99.99% of us at some point, if that's how your approach, you're gonna end up miserable.
Oh,
and it's going to stunt your growth, and it's going to create a bad taste. Where if it's, well, you made the point. I agree.
You got it. Growth mindset wins. Growth mindset wins. Focus on process. Focus on improvement. So, Tuta, who submitted this play? We had a member submit the play.
Absolutely. Our guy, John Roan from Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken. He was with us at
Potty Mouth John, by the way.
Yes.
Potty Mouth John.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that.
We had fun with John.
Hey, the camps, he was a good sport. The camps are being organized. We haven't released anything yet. Remember about the hot mic.
That's right.
Right?
I think we brought that into a session, didn't we?
Oh, it's on the website.
Okay, there you go.
Just go to the website. It's out there. Okay, look, Tuta, I'd really like your perspective on this, from your position and everything, but I'll just set it up. This is a quarterback clearly in the pocket. So our job as referee, we talk about quarterback under duress. We talk about quarterback in the pocket. We've got that. And this quarterback throws the ball out of bounds. Okay, now somebody called ineligible downfield. We can go to the screen share if we have to. I'm not sure we have to, but if we have to, we will. There's a call for IDP, ineligible player downfield on a pass.
Mm-hmm.
Man, did y'all talk about this type of play? Everybody's working something different. Everybody's working something different. So how? And then, by the way, there's a ton of philosophies at work here too. Like, we got to go to the rule book, the mechanics manual. I'm not sure we need the instant replay casebook, although we might as well throw it in for good measure.
Right. And we did this last week with all kind of craziness. Yeah. So obviously we have to have good communication. And that was kind of what the point John was making is we really have to have good communication. And what philosophy do we apply? I don't know if we want to take this step by step, but IDP, don't we say that an overthrown screen pass out of bounds, then we don't want to call IDP?
Well, overthrown screen pass, correct me if I'm wrong, really more applies to OPI because that's when you have linemen blocking downfield.
Yes, but I thought IDP was in there. So we went through this before. Shoot. And I thought IDP was in there as well. Hold on. See, this is why I don't.
This is why we got to be in our books constantly because these things get confused. So
they do.
So everybody out there, let's get into the book or let's get into our memory, whatever our recall needs to be, and talk about this. There is a philosophy that says do not call something if the ball is legally grounded near or out of bounds at the sideline, right? That's basically
not offensive pass interference. That is page 28 of the 2021 CCA Mechanics Manual. Mr. Brandon Cruz.
There you go.
Right.
So that's not OPI.
Correct. And I am mixing up two different things because that has nothing to do with a screen pass anyway.
Correct.
But IDP is referencing screen pass, and that is that's not in the mechanics manual. That's in the rule book, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, there's two separate philosophies.
There's another philosophy too. To look at number 9 on page 29.
That's the one. That's the one we want to hone in on. So number 9, this is, and I think these have not changed substantially over the years, Corey. All these written philosophies that are really good, by the way.
Just if the passer is legally throwing the ball away and it lands near or beyond the sideline, do not penalize the offense for having ineligible players downfield.
Bingo. So we've got to interpret that, right? It's not so simple that we can just cookie cutter things out. Wouldn't that be great if it was? So what does it say again? There's a lot of wiggle room here. So it talks about the passer legally grounding the ball near the sideline.
That's right.
Does that mean he's near or beyond? Does that mean he's near the sideline, or does that mean he throws the ball near the sideline?
Well, and doesn't it say just before near the sideline, out of bounds, near or beyond the sideline?
No, it just says
No,
legally
does not
throwing
say
the
that.
ball away.
Okay.
And it
Legally
lands.
throwing the ball away.
And it lands, Brandon. And it lands near or beyond the sideline. So the ball.
The near or beyond the sideline applies to the football.
The football, not the player. Throwing the ball.
The legally grounding the ball applies to the player, obviously. That's like a verb.
That's correct.
Okay, good. So we want to make sure we're all clear. The passer can be anywhere on the field. Like, look at this play. He's in the pocket. He's in the pocket. And would anybody argue that well, now we got to go into that. Is he actually legally, we'll get the play back up. Is he actually legally grounding the ball near or beyond the sideline? That's what we got to decide.
Well, the referee doesn't know that. He needs information from the covering official.
Exactly.
Either the short wing or the deep wing or the back judge. I was in a game where Daniel brought information as the back judge. Don't be afraid to step up if you're the back judge on eligibles in the area.
Okay. Yeah, that's helpful. We'll get to that in the next play. Okay.
All right.
So we've got a ball that is obviously thrown out of bounds. We've got a flag down for ineligible receiver downfield, which you don't like when I say ineligible receiver, but that's okay.
Yeah, I never say that. I hate that.
I know.
Because the dude is not a receiver.
He's not. Okay. Well, he's an ineligible receiver is what he is. Anyways, we've got a flag down for that. The question we have to answer is, does the philosophy fit to basically pick up this flag? Because if look, it's going 3rd to 4th down. Who cares? Why would we make such a big deal out of this? They're going to decline it anyway. They want to force a punt, whatever. Look, this could happen on 1st down. This could happen on, a more competitive situation. So you talk about
learning how to officiate the play properly.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe it's going 2nd to 3rd, whatever the play is. It doesn't matter, because this could happen on any time. This could happen on the most significant portion of the game that knocks them out of field goal range or whatever the case is, right? So how do we take what's written in that mechanics manual, apply it to the rule, and then get the play right?
Easy.
Okay.
First thing is, was he legally grounding the ball? And we know that there are components of legally grounding the ball. Was he outside the pocket? No, he was not outside the pocket. So that means, by rule, there must be an eligible receiver in the area of the pass. And then we start going back into philosophies. That part is easy.
Now we have to use. Now we got to get back into philosophy. Yes,
that's correct. And we talk about players below the numbers. We talk about pass going over the head. We talk about trajectory. So I'll stop there.
Good. I think most people are going to look at this play. You look at this initial line feed from the sideline view. Yes, the pass has height on it, but it's pretty much on a rope, and it's over number 9's head. It's directly over number 9's head. It's not one of those like arcing passes. I mean, it's got a little bit of an arc to it, obviously, but this thing is on a rope over 9's head. Put him in the area. Any problem with that?
No.
Okay.
No.
We talk about numbers. We talk about inside the numbers, outside the numbers. We've talked about in the past. We're going to talk about it in the future, but we don't really need that here because this is on a rope right over that guy's head. So just put him in the area. It's very easy.
Right.
Okay.
So now, well, it's not. Well, yeah, that part is.
I mean, that component's easy. So that means, but
right.
what does that mean? That means if we decide that, if you agree with that, he is legally throwing the ball out of bounds.
That's
at
correct.
Or near or beyond or whatever those words are, the sideline.
That's correct.
Okay.
So right.
So then is that enough for the philosophy to kick in that says do not penalize for ineligible downfield on a pass?
Yes. Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's
legally grounding the ball.
Yeah.
Legally grounding the ball. So we get to legally grounding the ball, we can't have IDP. All right. And I mean, gosh, I don't know if I feel like we've all, I don't know, maybe this is an overstatement, but we've all been on a crew that has struggled with this play and either, kind of made a decision and didn't feel great about it. And then whatever the result was the result. In our case, I've been on a crew where we incorrectly penalized it. And I've been on a crew where we kind of marginally could have penalized it, but didn't. And it was like real wishy-washy. and it's just really, it's easy on video. It's hard on the field.
Well, Brandon, I think on this one, and this may be exposing a weakness for me. I think this one would be somewhat easy because for me, I'm not assuming intentional grounding unless someone comes bring information. So on a play like this, I don't even know where the pass went because with the pressure on the quarterback, I'm watching the quarterback get hit. We can tell how he throws the ball. He kind of just threw the ball like a normal passing posture in a certain direction that seems normal to me. So at the end of this play, I wouldn't even consider intentional grounding unless somebody comes running up to me and saying something. Then I'll be like, whoa, oh, okay. And then I'll have to start processing it.
Well, and ideally we're processing in the pocket under duress, those two factors.
Yes.
As a matter of habit, that's a little idealistic more than realistic because we're also got this big hit on the quarterback, by the way. And we got to clear that as legal for roughing the passer. It's not. But I mean, we were thinking about that too. Right. So there's a lot going on. Okay. But now, you just said this. I'm not processing intentional grounding. So if somebody comes in and says, well, yeah, but there's nobody there.
Then I'm going to have to go back and rewind my process because that happened to me this year. Quarterback threw the ball. Yeah. I was moving on to the next play. Well, actually, two different things happened, but never mind. Then the line of scrimmage official ran in and said, was the quarterback in the pocket? Which I thought was a weird question for him to ask me. I was like, whoa. Yeah. I actually said that. So I was like, wait, whoa. And I rewound it. I was like, oh, yeah, he was in the pocket. And I remembered he was, but I wasn't expecting that question. I really would have been expecting information. If someone comes in and says that, then I would have to replay this back and say, yeah, he really didn't move much. Yes, he was still in the pocket.
I think the saving grace is going to come from downfield. Apparently somebody threw this flag, but then somebody's going to come in and just use a lot of common sense here and say, look, you threw the ball on a line, Corey. You see that? He threw the ball on the line over this guy's head. Just kind of put him in the area. And if we're kind of working and really kind of burning a bunch of brain cells on this IDP, and we got to kind of have a decision about that, man, you could be the voice of reason right here coming in and saying, nah, just this guy's in the area, the bandit out of bounds, just pick up the IDP. You guys let's just move on.
And that's why I like how most of the referees, I know you do this, is you keep your microphone open. So I can hear that when you're talking about that, I don't have to wait for the announcement. So hopefully, the optics from that would look a little bit cleaner, versus you announcing a foul and then us picking up afterwards. I mean, if we have to go that route, no big deal. But if we can save that, right. I think it looks a little bit cleaner.
Yeah.
Is there
anything else?
Yeah, here's a dumb question. Is there any distinction made between legally grounding the ball out of bounds and just an incomplete pass? Like if the receiver that we're throwing the ball over the head of right here is closer like to the tick marks over there by the sideline and the ball just, skims over his fingernails. I mean, are we still legally grounding the ball out of bounds or did we just not execute? I know it's kind of silly, but does that make sense what I'm trying to articulate?
That's a really good question. I mean, then I feel like we're back into this whole impact algorithm of, is this really an IDP, foul that we want called? Because if we get to the point where forget about legally grounding, it's just really, like you said, an incomplete pass. Now, I mean, look at the action. I think it's the right tackle that's beyond that big line. It's not the right tackle. It's like the center of the left guard, whatever. It's number 52. Look at that guy. I mean, is this, does that really rise to the level of something that creates a material advantage for relative to being, downfield more than 3 at the pass? That's why we got to do all these concepts, right? I mean, that's why we got to look at this and say, is this what we want called? And maybe it is. And so if it just skims over the guy's fingertips, then if it's material for IDP, it's a foul. That's almost paradoxical in nature, because if he just throws the ball way out of bounds or whatever, but it's really not, intentional grounding, it's not a foul.
Right.
Yeah, that don't make sense.
But it does, because the whole intent is if he just grounds the ball, there's no
play on
game. Yeah,
right.
It's interesting. But if it's just right over the hands of the number 9, this whole idea of advantage, disadvantage to this IDP penalty, which not everybody agrees with. Some people feel it's either a foul or it's not, which is fine.
I kind of lean that direction, honestly.
And that's fine. That's fine. And then we just got to say, okay, now if that's the case, then we need to put the 5 yards on and give them the option to replay the down 5 yards back or take the incomplete pass.
Right.
It's interesting. I mean, it's really interesting. The bottom line is we don't get to the result by just playing the result. We gotta be solid on our processes, right? There's so many processes going on in all positions on this play.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's the right answer?
There's no right answer.
We don't give right answers because there really isn't one.
Yeah. Make a decision.
Make a decision. Rely on the processes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And all this, O2O stuff is great, but it's going to come down to officials working their position and doing their jobs on the field.
Right. I don't know. Was that enough intentional grounding discussion?
No, not even close.
No.
That's all I want to do tonight.
So there's been 2 plays in some big games, whatever. Similar plays. I mean, we've got like double handoff, reverse, wide receiver pass, and we throw the ball out of bounds. So we're going to put 2 plays back to back here, and they're going to loop, and then there's going to be some arrows going on just for effect, I guess. And Tutai, you kind of alerted me to this play and wanted to compare it against a play a week earlier that we had in the Big 12 championship game. And I don't know how you want to set this up. So what I did is I just looped these, and there's various angles. And we talk about this whole notion of the receiver outside the numbers, and we give the passer a lot more leeway.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to ask a question about, here comes the other play. I want a question, but then we need to kind of reconcile that with, I don't know if this is necessarily a trick play, but it's an unusual play. I mean, when a wide receiver is throwing the pass after 2 handoffs or a pitch or whatever, and a reverse, that's kind of an unusual play. So if we're going to give the quarterback leeway when there's a receiver outside the numbers and he throws the ball high in the general direction, should we apply the same philosophy to this player who receives, kind of this trick, reverse, go back the other way, wide receiver pass?
All right.
And that's just the question I want to pose. So here we've got some arrows that are going to pop up. The white arrow is going to be like the direction of the receiver. The blue arrow is going to be the direction of the pass. And that's really just for effect, just to, more meat on the bone to chew on. But what I don't know, what questions do you want to ask, or get the other guys involved? I'll just stop there.
Yeah, I mean, well, the other thing, one thing you didn't mention, Brandon, is can we also start officiating intent? And we always say we can't officiate intent. Should we just be strict in our interpretation of a receiver in the area, or should we also maybe stretch it to start talking about intent? It is pretty obvious number 6 on this play is just getting rid of the ball. He's dumping the ball. I don't care that a receiver is in the area, just from the simple point of saying, was he trying to complete a pass? No, he was just getting rid of the ball. Now, should we use intent when we start evaluating? That's why I think it's a slippery slope. Or do we just say, look, we said this is how we determine if a receiver is in the area. A receiver is in the area. It doesn't matter that I think he's just getting rid of the ball. We're going to use the philosophy of receiver in the area, and we're going to say that this is not a player who is just throwing the ball away, I guess. I don't know, for lack of a better term.
Well, in that same principle, I think we need to get back to Brandon's question, but that same principle, Tuta, applies, doesn't it, to we often see quarterbacks launch balls, and a receiver was supposed to go somewhere, and we say we can't make that. We're not in the business of judging that kind of intent. So it's that's interesting. I never heard it thought. I've never really heard it kind of communicated like that. It's we're working that same consideration on both ends, the passer and the receiver.
Right, because you can see the Sam Houston number 6 dude. He's literally just throwing the ball out of bounds, and we know by rule he's not the player who initially controlled to avoid a sack. He's just throwing the ball away. Now, okay, maybe this is a better question, Daniel. I'm sorry, because this is a better question. Why do we have the philosophy of a receiver in the area? Maybe we can start there, and then that will help us determine should we apply that philosophy on receivers who are not legally eligible to ground the ball.
Oh, that's a good question. I think
so. The intent. Okay.
No, you go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. So the intent of the intentional grounding rule is basically allowing the quarterback to avoid a sack. In other words, it's basically a player safety foul. Right? Or a player safety rule. Yeah, to avoid a sack by getting rid of the ball, so long as all these conditions are met. But the rules really kind of lock down the fact, when it's not the player who initially controlled the snap.
Right.
So that's where all these philosophies kind of get undermined a little bit. And now, but should they? And that's the question we're talking about right now.
Right.
Well, I think too, Todd, the reason that the receiver in the area exists, that's a part of the rule, is probably so we don't get in the business of judging intent, because, well, who's to say, right? Like, who's to say?
Right.
Here we can all, like, we know what's happening, but I think the point of that receiver in the area is, well, who's to say, right? Who's to say that wasn't maybe, just we've seen bad passes. Everybody makes bad passes from time to time.
Right.
So maybe that's the thing.
Well, and we have other philosophies to deal with that, though, Daniel. I mean, like, if he starts his throwing motion and the contact by the defense forces a bad pass, then he's kind of off the hook. Right. But if he makes a bad pass clearly after contact, then the passer's more on the hook. And we do apply that to the quarterback. We would obviously apply that to these, player number 6 for Sam Houston, player number 9 for Baylor in these cases. It's just really an interesting thing.
I think that's where your argument really, I think that's where the foundation comes from, is that idea. There's multiple, you probably know them all offhand. I don't. There's multiple areas in the rule book that talks about the player who initially controls the snap. And I think that kind of language is designed for circumstances like this, because we all know the quarterback is a really specific skill set. The people, who play quarterback, that's not necessarily extended to these other folks who don't play quarterback. And I think that's probably where that comes from. Could be wrong.
Well, Daniel, I want to disagree with you a little bit. When you said skill set and quarterback, Brandon played quarterback in junior high or whatever it was, and he had no skills.
Wait a second.
I was starting quarterback for my varsity team as a junior. I just want to set the record straight.
What happened senior year?
I'm more about process than research.
But what happened senior year?
Well, I mean, I switched to a position to add value to the team.
No. We can dig even deeper, Brandon. What was the record of your team in junior year? What was your record? What was the team's record?
I don't think the purpose of these 2 plays was to go into
Where did you play high school
illustrious
football?
What state
career did you play high school?
Well, I was all parish or county quarterback that year because I was the only one in my county. Are we done with that?
Yes.
What do you guys? Look, the bottom line is this. Should there be a different standard on the quarterback throwing the ball away to avoid a sack outside the pocket versus the guy that didn't receive the snap? That's the question that these 2 plays are offering. And what do you guys think? Come on, get enough of this.
I agree with you, Brandon, because you're the one who threw the flag in the Big 12 championship game. There should be a different standard. I do. I think there should be a different standard. The guy in Sam Houston game, is even worse than the guy in the Baylor game. I mean, this dude is literally just throwing the ball straight out of bounds, and I think that's a foul. Even though there's a receiver that we could extend and see, you can see the headline judge, which he's doing the right thing. He's saying, "Look, there's a receiver right here," and he's right. There is a receiver right there. But I think as a referee,
he's stepping up. By the way, I want to commend that guy.
Absolutely,
he's doing his job, and he might not know that's a receiver on a double reverse pitch pass thing. Kind of, don't. He might, he knows whatever. But look, you know what? That's fine in the moment. I mean, he did the right thing. I think he did the right thing. He's not looking back there. Look at that angle. He's not even looking at the ball, which I really appreciate, by the way.
Yeah. But I think it's us as referees. We need to just step up and say, you know what? No, this is a wide receiver, and we're going to be a little more firm with the rules, and he needs to throw the ball directly to or in the area of a player. He can't just throw the ball out of bounds and get the extended area philosophy that we use for normal quarterbacks that take the snap. That's my opinion.
I agree, but that's easy for me to say because I made the call. I mean, look, the defense won the play, and the rule's specific, and the intent of the rule really is to protect the quarterback. These aren't quarterbacks, and right. I know I love the wide receivers just as much as I love our umpires. Anyways, that's been a joke for those that are new.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And I don't know if it's practical to adjust our philosophies on the fly like that, but it does seem like the rules ask us to do that. But I'm open to other opinions.
I think ultimately where you land is there's rule support because he can't, him being outside of the pocket, right? Like he doesn't have that freedom and that luxury, right?
Yeah.
To just throw the ball beyond the line of scrimmage. Like a quarterback that far out, he throws the ball the line of scrimmage. We don't care if there's anybody in the area or not.
That's right.
I think all we're doing is extending that principle to this kind of play. I think, and that's why, I mean, not so that we're all like, super agreeing and kumbaya here, but I agree with the idea and the principle. I think that's what we're doing. We're just extending that same idea that exists in the rule book and applying it. Well, it's interesting though, Tuta, I was different from you. I think that this one is closer. And then the other one in the Oklahoma State, the Baylor guy is less close. I mean, the ball's in the box, luxury boxes.
That's true. Very true.
And this one, to me,
Daniel, I'm not sure if you're aware. Let's talk a little geometry, Daniel.
Sure.
So there's angles,
right.
And the further you get away from the point, I don't even remember. We need Michael Bilica now. I don't remember what the point is called at the intersection of the two lines.
He's a physicist.
Vertex,
he
right?
doesn't know.
Oh, there it is, vertex. Physics. So the closer you are to the vertex.
So as you explain geometry to me, you're welcome for that. No, go ahead.
So in other words, if you're standing at the point the pass is released, you have a much better perspective on the direction of where the pass is going.
Okay. Well, just shut up. The ball's in the luxury. It's in the boxes. It's in the stands.
Yeah, but it went 40 yards downfield.
Exactly what I'm saying.
This ball went 2 yards downfield, and the angle is much more severe. That's all I'm trying to tell you, Daniel. You just need to learn what angles are and everything like that. We'll do
number 3, if he's an athlete, no,
stop.
He's
stop. Yeah, stop.
If I would have had an athlete like him, I would have not been an 0-11 junior varsity quarterback.
Oh, there's the record. We got the record to come out.
Gosh, you should have kept that to yourself.
Junior year, 0-9. I was exaggerating. Okay, are we good? So the bottom line is this. Look, if you're going to put him in the area, like our headline judge did in the Sam Houston game, put him in the area. Just make the call. I do feel like we need to tighten down on these kind of somewhat unusual plays when the rule specifically prohibits all the intentional grounding, exceptions. The intent of the rule is for the quarterback to stay safe by grounding the ball from outside the pocket. That is not extended to the player who doesn't control the snap. So then by kind of, extension, don't just let them do whatever they want and just say, oh, there's a guy within the area code.
Right.
If these were both quarterbacks, I feel like these are both legal. But they're not.
All right,
I know.
I'll throw
And
another
that's where I'm
scenario. You
at.
just made
That's
mention
where
of
I'm
it,
at.
Brandon.
Yep.
Let me throw another scenario at you. You know how we see sometimes we see all these multiple passes and whatevers. Let's say this quarterback had given up the ball at some point in time and got it back, and now he was outside the tackle box and getting ready to throw a pass, and he decides, you know what, this play is not going to work. Let me just get rid of it. What is your feeling there?
So you're gonna have to help me on the rule, obviously, because I've never had that.
I thought so. The person who originally controls the snap, I thought once he gives it
Is
up,
afforded the protection. Once he gives it up, the exception is off.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So that's my question. So he gives it up, gets it back, and now he's outside here, just like number 6 and Sam Houston.
I get it.
And he says, "This play ain't working. Let me get rid of it."
I get it. I'm still probably going to revert back to the quarterback philosophy, quite frankly. That's just how I'm going to manage the game. Right, wrong, indifferent. I'm happy to be corrected on that as we go along in this great, the evolution.
Well, I don't like that. I don't now. I'm stepping off board a little bit because that's. You're just saying because it's the position.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's what we've been drilled into in our training.
Yeah.
And maybe we're brainwashed. Whatever.
We're brainwashed.
We are. But these rules are for a reason. And I mean, and the philosophies exist also. All these philosophies aren't written down. And this is where we put our disclaimer up that, we are sharing ideas about philosophies we've been trained upon. But that doesn't mean your groups think the same way.
That's correct.
If the quarterback is in the pocket and has to get the ball into an eligible and throws the ball out of bounds, and there's a guy in the general vicinity outside the numbers, we put that guy in the area. What we're saying here is we're not really going to extend that to to this player who doesn't get this same exception because he didn't control the snap. Tuta layered in. Let's say the quarterback gets the ball back basically on a flea flicker. Now, are you going to revert back to putting, these receivers in the area? My answer to that is yes. But I don't have a great reason to say that other than just it's the quarterback. And that's really the intent behind the rules, behind the philosophy. So our job is to basically apply that, in given situations, which are unique. And that's why we put the plays up.
Wow.
Daniel's ready he's done with this, by the way.
No, I'm super into it, which is kind of weird.
You are?
I am. I just,
you like it?
I'm conflicted now because I wanted to be on your
The problem
side.
is I know you did. The problem really presents itself, Daniel, is in the execution, because how does everybody on the field know what happened in the backfield and then with receivers?
Oh, yes.
So it just makes it that much more crucial to communicate well and to develop the chemistry as a crew and all the things we talk about and to be on the same page on these concepts. And that's why we don't just step on the field and think that everybody's on the same page, just by default, he's worked for 30 years or whatever, 15 years in our league. No, I mean, come on, we've got to put plays up. We've got to study them as a group so that we all get on the same page. And if we don't, then we just open ourselves up to more risk of miscommunicating on the field. It's, to me, Daniel, preparation is all about how we're going to communicate. I don't really care about the concepts we cover, but it's the how we get through the concepts. And, so I don't know. I don't know if that helped on this play or not. Maybe not. Maybe it was just like blind luck, or maybe it was blind non-luck. Maybe in some opinion we got it wrong. That's fine. But the thing is, there was comfortability in the communication that we could get through those situations, right? And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So, Brandon, in the Baylor play, were you aware that the number 9 threw the? How did you know how did you work that play? In terms of understanding where the ball went, how far it went, also looking at him, action on him because he's still a passer.
Exactly. And the two-dimensional screen with three-dimensional things happening doesn't do it justice. Like if there was a camera at the vertex, Tuta,
all right,
bring that back. I mean, I'm telling you, and it's almost like that camera from behind the Sam Houston play, but the ball was at a vastly different angle on the field than is
Right.
even close to number one running down the field. And the guys did a good job of pointing him out immediately. You know, they did a good job of pointing him out immediately, but I'm like, no. He threw that ball at such a severe angle away from that player and just applying what we just discussed, right? You know, locking down on the kind of the trick play philosophy that they all got to be legal, and then understanding the rule about him not controlling the snap. I mean, that made it pretty easy for me to make that decision.
Well, and that's
because
that's
of the
great.
severe angle.
That's a great question and a response, because we talked about like this is really unique, and I'm thinking back to a specific play that I'd love for us to revisit in the future. But we're each bringing independent pieces of information that have to connect together to create the entire picture. And so I attended a VSG session where we talked extensively about a wide receiver between the numbers and the sideline. And so I was super excited to suggest to the referee that number one was in the area, the wide receiver. Right. And if you're not processing that other piece, I think the part that it's not the quarterback is probably pretty easy and obvious for you. But if you're not processing the other piece that, but this isn't that, right? Like this isn't close. He's launching this. Then we're at risk, again, however you land on this play, but we're at risk to not officiate it the way we want to. And so I don't like that the ability for you, Brandon, and whoever the referee is, to extend your thought process on that play is really important, because us guys deep, we don't probably have any idea who's throwing the ball. I sure didn't. And I'm thinking, well, our philosophy is the ball's grounded well out of bounds, out of bounds, but number one is between the numbers and the sideline. I know that most of the time we want to make this legally grounding or him in the area. So I'm telling you that. And then for the referee to be able to say, but that's not what we have here. That's really important. That's really important. And that goes back to our preparation comment that you made earlier.
There we go.
All right, Brandon, got something for you to think about here. Mr. Derek Puffer found an AR 732 Roman numeral 11, and it specifically says the quarterback loses the right to throw the ball away legally because he relinquishes possession before passing it. This is on a flea flicker, specifically a flea flicker.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So he's got to get the ball into an area of an eligible receiver, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
And so if he just throws the ball and there's no question, I'm talking no question, that's clearly intentional grounding. The question would
still
be,
want to extend that philosophy.
If he throws it just like the Baylor player did here, you know, because I'm going to tell you, I would be thinking intentional grounding, but I would be more worried about the quarterback on that play, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's just how this whole thing has evolved for me in my, pathway or journey or whatever funny word I want to use there. So, but now that it's a wide receiver, you immediately get into down a different tunnel.
Yep.
And it's like, oh my gosh, he just clearly threw the ball into like the area with all the rich people, like in the luxury suites. And there was there was somebody over there kind of over by the field judge, but he threw it over the headline judge's head in general. It is like, that's exactly, oddly enough, that's just what I thought. I watched that ball go into the area where they were eating caviar and shrimp and, shrimp cocktail, and they were drinking their cocktails. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's nothing close to what the rule asked for this guy to do. So it was a foul. Right. It's funny how those things happen. And not all stadiums have those field level luxury suites, I guess, either, but that's funny. What else? So good find on the AR, but that's specifically when there's no eligible. We don't have to make a decision on the eligible, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, so yes. When it's a flea flicker, he's got to get it into an eligible. He doesn't get the out of the tackle box exception.
Correct.
That's a good find.
Yep.
Okay. Let's get into a little more step up mode. It's step up season now. This was a great call specifically because it called back a touchdown by Villanova against South Dakota State. So that's why it was such a great call. No, I'm just kidding. But watch, this is an overload formation, red zone. I mean, we're seeing more and more of this. We've talked about it a lot here. We've talked about it a lot. It'll loop, and you'll see the call. So the headline judge on the non-overload side is the official that makes the call, and then referee makes the announcement. Good signal, all this stuff. Tutai, I want to ask you about how you announce that in a second. It's going to loop, and we'll see what we're talking about. And then, by the way, we've got a little OPI discussion to do too, if you guys want, on this interesting action there with a big collision for a touchdown. But let's focus on the illegal formation to start. So overload to the left of the offense. The video pauses. There's clearly 5 in the backfield. Somebody made a mistake. And like I said, the headline judge, guys, the headline judge stepped up, made this call. And we don't pick on anybody. The line judge didn't make the call. The headline judge did. I feel like sometimes, if it's overload away from you, you might say, gosh, should I make this call? Is that my call? We can talk about psychology there. Just a great job to step up and make sure that, Villanova didn't score in a game with South Dakota State involved, first of all. But no, that's a joke. Just watching this back, it was just an awesome job to step up, overload side away from you. You don't take the play off. You're going to the goal line, but you still have the presence of mind, headline judge, just to make this call and really step up in a big spot, late in the first half of a quarterfinal, in the playoffs. So any thoughts? We don't got to debate the call. It's clearly a foul, but any thoughts on just the psychology of making these calls when you could have easily, from his position, said, maybe I shouldn't get involved in this since it's on the other side of the field?
The only thing
I thought of, good buddy. Sorry, go ahead, Corey.
It's all right. The only thing that I thought of, from the line judge position, maybe he was trying to put the number 3 guy or the guy with the number 2 on him, but it's the third guy in. Maybe he's trying to put him on the line of scrimmage just because there's that stagger there. But man, I think something like this, you want to make him, obviously on the line. But that's the only thing I can think of, that maybe that's what he was working, that, he sees a stagger there. But then again, I'm not a line of scrimmage guy, and some, the stagger and the blade of grass stuff, I don't quite understand all that stuff. So, but I know that's in play sometimes, but I don't know all the times when it is in play and when it's not.
Yeah, I think our good buddy Andy Warner, he always talks about this. It is both line of scrimmage officials' job to count the backfield. And I know it's on the other side, quote unquote, and it's maybe the line judge's call, if because that's kind of what the philosophy or the mentality that we kind of discussing here, Brandon. But I know Andy would love to see this headline judge throw this flag, because that's really what he preaches a lot of.
Yeah. And, and just, that's just it. I mean, we have our pre-snap responsibilities, and I don't know what was going through the line judge's mind. Obviously, they got together. You could see that little clip right before the referee makes the announcement. The line judge came in, but, you could look at this, and the game report showed the headline judge made the call. He immediately reported to the referee. Maybe he called the line judge in to talk about what Corey was wondering. But this is just, again, I don't know. This isn't a trick play. I wouldn't classify this as a trick play, but we still got to have a legal formation, right? I mean,
it's an unusual formation, I would say.
It's an unusual formation.
It's not a trick play, but it is an unusual formation. And I would say unusual formations should be held to the highest degree of scrutiny, just like trick plays.
That's it. So way to step up. I mean, so many people say we want to stay under the radar, which we do want to stay under the radar. If you define being on the radar as making the correct call, well, then that's being on the radar, whatever. But look, forget all that. This is an excellent job on a seemingly basic call, but you guys know this, and everybody on here knows this. In the moment, this takes a lot of guts. I don't know if I'm being. It does. It does, doesn't it? And, did you throw the flag after they scored? Did you throw the flag at the snap? To me, it doesn't matter because you're processing. You're also thinking about moving to the goal line. I just commend the official right here for just nailing this call. And I know it's very basic, Tuta, but I thought it was just a good example. And we don't talk enough about just really good calls, just basic and good calls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Okay, here we go. Let's get into some polls and let's shift gears. Let's go. Let's see. Where are we going? Oh, you know where we're going, Tuta? Our favorite conference. This is, you watch the football, man, there's always something going on.
That's right.
This is another example of stepping up. So here's a poll, and you want to watch the action, and we got some slow motion. Just let it loop, but you want to watch the action relative to number 13 is the guy on defense, and number 8 is the guy on offense. And look at the poll. You've got a lot of options. All right, so we're talking about UNS, unsportsmanlike conduct. We're talking about UNR, unnecessary roughness. So A8 is obviously the receiver in the white jersey, and B13 is the defender in the blue jersey. And so look at the play and just make the call. We're making the call right now. So this is more like kind of dead ball-ish action. But what do you see? So we're talking about the tackle by 13. We're talking about the little action after the play by both players. And now what do we want to call? There's another foul on this play, which is actually a good call for a face mask out wide on the receiver trying to get out of his break. We're not even worried about that, although it's an interesting penalty enforcement. So download the play and take a look at that. But what do you got? These are always interesting. How many more clues do I want to talk about? I don't know.
I'd like to commend the headline judge on the mechanics here. Because he gets down there and he looks where he needs to be. Whether he's using the judgment that he's blessed with, but you can't use that judgment unless you're in a position to be able to use it. And so, sometimes not everyone would get down there, or they'd be focusing on looking down at the spot on the ground. So I will commend him for getting down there and keeping his head up and watching that action out of bounds, because so often we see it on film where, we lose sight of that, and, bad things can happen when we do that.
So obviously we see his flag. He's got something. We're asking the audience here. You're seeing all these angles, more than he got to see, right?
Right.
In a different speed. So what are we calling? And
hey, two trivia items of note while we let the votes come in. Corey and I got a chance to work in this stadium. What was that, Corey? 2000?
I think 14, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. We had a really fun time in this stadium. And then the center judge, we saw him at Black Hills Camp last year. That's Mr. Josh Larson working this game. That's center judge right now.
Why is stadiums that you and Corey have worked together at a piece of trivia? Like, why is that a trivia question anyone will ever
Because
ask?
this is not our conference, so it's interesting that we worked a game in a stadium that's not in a conference that we work. Daniel Young, I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
Okay, I've also, so just another piece of trivia. I've also worked in the stadium.
We don't care, Daniel. We really don't care.
I don't remember.
That was my point.
I've also worked in the stadium. But
we don't care about that either.
No, you haven't.
I remember working there too, but I can't for the life of me remember who we had there.
Was it Colorado State?
I thought it was a purple team, but I thought maybe it was K-State, but that doesn't make any sense. So
that doesn't make sense.
I don't know.
No, K-State, I think, did play here at UTSA one year. I don't know if that was a game you had, but I feel like that happened.
Was either.
All right, hold on. I actually
now you got to go back in
literally every game that I worked. So I can tell
you. You know what, Daniel?
Daniel,
the only reason he brought that up is so that he could tell everybody he has a list of every game he's ever worked.
I think it was New Mexico, Tuta.
New Mexico?
Yeah, I have a list also. It's called my brain.
With the
your brain doesn't work though. We already know that.
All right, oh my gosh.
San Antonio, Brandon, and Austin LBJ in the Alamo Dome. You're welcome.
Wait, what? Who is that?
That was me.
October 4th, 2014, New Mexico at UTSA.
There we go.
You got that right. It was New
Corey
Mexico.
wins. Corey wins the trivia. What is he?
Yeah, what do I get?
What do
He
you
gets
get?
to stay on the call for the rest of the night.
Oh,
Sweet.
well, that's
Oh,
wow. Okay, and the poll. I think we've got enough here. 61% said UNS on A8 only. 33% said UNS on both, and then a smattering or whatever said UNS on B13 only. Okay. So guys, you're working this. Corey, this is your wheelhouse. I know it was the headline judge who, by the way, stepped up on this play, but you're working this. It's in your lap. What do you see here to figure out, because we've got a conflict here. Basically 2/3 say throw it on A8 only. A third say throw it on both.
Yeah, I mean, for 13, I mean, he's in enemy territory, to put it that way. He's in an opposing bench. So for him to do something that rises to a level for UNS, for me, it's got to be pretty big. I mean, I'm going to be really focused on getting him out. Now, in terms of A8, we can see that he presents the ball to him and taunts the ball like, hey, I caught this, as you're covering me. And I know, I think we've all thrown UNSs that we're like, okay, do we need to throw that? But I think this is, when you compound that with he is in the bench, I mean, I think it's a good call. I mean, it's definitely a taunting nature. Is it prolonged? It doesn't last all that long, but you don't need to have it be prolonged for it to be a taunt, really. And so, I mean, I don't have anything on B13. I'm glad that the universe saw that there was no UNR action, and we all recognized that this was either UNS or nothing. So I applaud them on that. But I would put it just on 8. I wouldn't have anything on 13.
Good. So let's get all consistent. So pretty much. Go ahead, Daniel. Go ahead.
Well, I had a question for Corey. All good points. What if 13 doesn't react at all? Like the ball just kind of bounces off of him and he couldn't care less. Does that impact whether or not we want to call this as a UNS or a taunting on number 8?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would want to see some type of reaction or some type of prolonged. I'm not saying that I would call this or I wouldn't. I want to see something a little bit prolonged. But to your point, I think if 13 just kind of walks through that, probably that would give me an indication. Okay, just go talk to 8, tell him to knock it off. But the way 13 swats that away from him, that's inciting a reaction by number 8 incited a reaction by that taunt. And so I think that would, if that was my judgment to throw on it, that would probably cement it in my head.
Yeah.
I think that's really well said. I think that's exactly what this line judge thought. And I think that's exactly the right call. Don't you? I mean, 8, this is all on 8. This is all on 8. He made the decision to taunt by, presenting the ball to his opponent who just legally tackled him out of bounds.
Right.
And honestly, when I watched this, especially with the headline judge's body language of kind of following 13 with his eyes after the play, which is okay. That's really good mechanics, by the way. But I thought, oh my gosh, he called that on 13 for swatting the ball away. Right? But he didn't. I mean, he really did a nice job getting the instigator here and not reacting to really the reaction, which is unfortunately what I think we've all been guilty of several times. So good job on that. And I think, the universe nailed it. Everybody sees this as taunting by 8. The question now is, do we want to call the reaction by 13? And Corey, you kind of laid it out really well on why you wouldn't.
Yeah, I would just stay away from that. If we can get the instigator in these types of situations, I think it plays much better. I think it gives us a better sense of control over the game going forward. I've never been a big fan of the offsetting UNSs. Sometimes the game deserves it. I mean, it calls for that. I get that. But if we can find the instigator, I think we're better served that way.
All right. Well, now that you bring that up, let's go to the next play.
All right, more, please.
Because
more.
we're gonna stay in this topic and look. Okay, get this going. New poll, new play. And I hate to talk about UNS, UNR, those types of conversations with this game. This is Army Navy, our servicemen. But look, there's still, we still play football by the rules, right? So we see some interesting things going on at the end of the play, and you've got a host of decisions. And I was interesting when the poll writer made this poll, I was thinking to myself, isn't this why this is kind of difficult? Like, we've got a lot of decisions to make, and is it UNS? Is it UNR? Is it nothing? Is it on one? Is it on both? Is it on neither? And then what should we call if it is on one or? So you've got like 9 options here. This is crazy. You've got 9 options here, and so basically we're asking: is it UNR or UNS or nothing on A23 and B54? You see what happens. B54 has a hold of him. A23 kind of gives him a little, would you call it a stomp? Whatever you want to call that after the play. How are you going to manage this? And what are you going to call? And it's just really interesting. This is early in the game, by the way. Do you guys have any differing thresholds for this type of stuff while the votes come in? Any differing thresholds early in the game, later in the game? Does it matter? Does it not? Is that just kind of a officiating myth? What do you guys think on that?
I mean, I try to remain consistent first to the fourth quarter, but that also depends on the texture of the game. I mean, if we have a very chippy game, that's the one time where I think I will adjust my threshold in the middle of a game. If we just have guys that are, jaw jacking with one another and all the extracurricular stuff that we hope to not have to deal with, that may make me change that a little bit. That's my opinion. I don't know. I'll let the other guys talk too.
Can we call the UNS on number 23 for breaking his foot or pretending like his foot is broken from stomping on the other player?
Oh, I love that. That was like instant karma. Like you stomp on a guy and then you get a Liz Frank injury or something.
I mean, like come on. It's almost like he got shot in the bottom of his foot. Does he play soccer? Maybe he plays soccer.
Yeah, he's an aspiring soccer player.
Right. I mean, look at this dude. I've never seen. First, the bottom of his foot was hurt, then his ankle was hurt, then his calf was hurt. I think he settled he settled on his ankle being hurt.
We went to injury timeout for this, by the way.
Oh my God!
Isn't that funny? And he is also, I don't know, person who's going to be defending our country. Not that matters.
Yeah. What is that?
That's just me making. It's just me making a joke. It's a football game governed by rules.
What is 54 doing?
Exactly.
What are you doing?
That's the question.
He's causing mayhem.
It's so annoying and Brandon, it's fun. This actually is a really great play and poll question because it's so annoying when we have to deal with stuff like this. Like, because the first thing that happens, 23 is going to get mad because 54 did something. 54 is going to get mad because 23 did something. And they both going to be mad at each other and they both going to be mad at the refs. And then we have to make a decision. And what are we supposed to do here?
I know. And if this has been going on all day,
I know.
Does that adjust our threshold?
Yes.
We talk about, let's just stomp them out, like well, no pun intended, but let's get rid of it early.
Step on the neck.
We don't. Oh, that's what we've heard. But is that the official we want to be?
No.
Not really.
No.
But sometimes that works.
Right, but if this is the fourth quarter, and we've been talking to 54 literally all day long, and he's still doing crap like this. I'm sorry, 54. We have much less of a threshold with you at this point in time if we've been talking to you all game long.
All right, so what are we seeing?
I think we can stop it. The numbers have kind of stopped moving.
All right, I stopped it.
I find it interesting that nobody thought that we should just get 23 here, because I think that was my initial thought when I first saw this play. But nobody liked that.
Really?
So what is the majority? What is there?
The plurality is UNS on both players involved. 40% say that.
That's interesting.
I think the discussion we can have is UNR versus UNS, and I think one of the things that I've helped learn the difference between is it a football related type of action, and if it is, then we can lean towards UNR. If not, if we can't put it in that bucket, then I think that's when we want to kind of lean more towards UNS on this. And I think obviously the stomping I think is definitely UNS. I don't know if we could call that a UNR. But the holding of the foot, man, that's a tough one. I don't know what to do with that one.
My thing with the holding of the foot, Corey, is that it's so freaking long. Everybody else in the universe has stopped playing football,
right?
And because I'm in totally, I think that's the best way for us to look at it. Is it just continuation of playing football? It's so hard for me to believe this guy thinks he's still playing football,
right? And
is that rise to the level of a foul just because he's holding on to something? Nah, if he's twisting the ankle, that's one thing. But if he's just holding his foot, does that rise? Is that flagrant enough or severe enough to rise to the level of throwing a flag, Daniel?
I don't know.
I mean, on its own, I don't think so.
I mean,
but
you can't,
once it incites something, does that? Once it instigates something, does it rise to a level of
the
foul?
play's over now? Now the play's over. And we're still dragging this. He's dragging this guy with his foot. Like, what are we doing? I don't know. That's a good question. So I think we can all agree, like unanimously, you can't stop on my guy's chest. Like,
right? Yeah,
I can't do that. That's. And so this is a one of those scenarios that Corey mentioned earlier, where if we're all in agreement that 54 is the instigator, you still can't stomp on the guy's chest, no matter even if he instigated it. So you're getting a UNS for that for sure. And then I think the conversation around 54's action is challenging.
Yeah. But I like what Corey is saying.
I'll say this. I don't like it as a UNR. I don't like it as a UNR.
You can't let 54 do that. You can't let 54 do that. To incite, 23 reacts to that, right?
Inciting violence.
Right.
So that's what I like what Corey was saying, because it drew a reaction. With no reaction, and this is similar to the last play that we talked about. With no reaction, maybe we don't call the ball being presented to the player. With no reaction, maybe we don't call anything on 54. But now that he created a situation where now 23 is stomping on him, well, golly, now we're stuck. We're in trouble now. We got to do something.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't stomp on him, I think the umpire or center judge gets in there and tell him to stop it. Knock that off. Sorry, Brandon.
Right.
No, I was going to say, isn't the opposite true? Like, so what am I trying to say? If 23 doesn't do – no, you already said that. Now keep going. I need to collect my thoughts on that. Keep going.
Yeah. So I think the question is UNR, UNS. We talked about we clearly call it a foul on 23. You can't do that. But then the question is 54's action UNR or is it UNS or does it even matter?
I mean, 54 on its own is nothing. It's one. I mean, but once he elicits an unsportsmanlike response because of his action, then I think he too has earned himself a flag for UNS.
Yes,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think that's where I'm at too.
So because 23 reacted, 54's foul, and which is hard to reconcile, but is honestly just true.
He's
so what are you struggling with on that, Brandon? What is hard to reconcile about it?
Well, I don't know. It's just like we're almost playing the result of somebody else doing something wrong that creates.
Oh, yeah, we absolutely are.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's like, that doesn't meet the whole. If it's a foul at one point, it's a foul at the other. But
I agree, absolutely.
I'm good with it, but I don't. It's like, I don't know. What it kind of just flushes thresholds down the toilet in a way. But I understand why we're doing it too.
Right. And this is I would suggest this is maybe the only, well, I don't know. We could start talking about the OPI, DPI simultaneous deal maybe and go down that road. But this is maybe the only scenario where we're really going to do that, because you're right. Like and I don't even know that I would feel comfortable saying it that way. In fact, I would not feel comfortable explaining it that way to a coach, because if I'm a coach, no, you need to evaluate my player's actions in a vacuum. What did he do? He's responsible for himself. The other player is responsible for himself. But at the end of the day, like we need to exercise that judgment. You're starting crap, and your crap created this crap, and so you're on the hook for that. You're responsible for this pile of crap that we're all wading through now.
Right.
How do you like that, Coach?
All right. Then we had a question about kicking or fighting. I don't think I would want to go that far for 23, because if we use fighting or kicking, then we're going to have to start talking about ejecting the player. And in that situation, I would not want to go that far for that. I don't know if I'm on an island with that.
Didn't we have that in a game not too many years ago, where one of our referees had something like that, a stomp, and we ran the guy?
I think if you run a guy and you say he stomped on his chest, you're probably supported. My thing with that is, like, that's a real kind of Nancy stomp on his chest, right? Like,
right.
Like you really dug into it. Like, if he just stomps the crap out of him, you're gone. I don't feel bad about that. That doesn't hurt my feelings at all. You can't play football anymore.
I think the game I'm thinking of, I think Reggie had, and the guy stomped on his nether regions and earned himself.
Oh, you can't do that. No, you can't do that.
That would be a disqualification.
You can't do that.
All right.
That was good.
That's good. We got one more, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Check out the onside kick. And this is another, if you get the video started, this is another step up by an official in a big spot. I don't know if you would classify this as surprise onside kick, although there was only 4 officials up in the box. So we could talk about those, mechanics around those decisions. So it was a windy day and the guy's holding the ball, and then watch this great call by the field judge. And just talk about what we need to know to get to the penalty enforcement, because I think the replay crew was a little bit confused in the game. I don't know if the on-field crew was confused about the penalty enforcement or not, but just talk through the process in terms of the result of the play on how to get to the proper result. So the call is for the illegal block prior to the ball going 10. Great call.
Where's the illegal block that we're looking at?
Right at the 46 by 14, right in front of the ball.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going backwards. I was looking at. I'm looking at number 40, and I'm like, he didn't even block. What are you talking about? I'm looking at the wrong team. I'm looking at the receiving team, but we
You're looking at the team that's going to be the national runners up for the division, for the Amos Alonzo Stag Bowl.
Where's that played, Daniel?
North Central.
Well, lately, the last few years, it's been played in Conroe, Texas. This year, it's played in Canton, Ohio. So that's kind of cool for those guys.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before that, it was Salem, Virginia.
This is an excellent call by the field.
Remember
because I'll be honest with you,
isn't it?
When you have an onside kick straight up the middle, I think we talked about this earlier this year.
We did.
It's between side judge, field judge. Typically if a onside kick is the one side or the other, whoever is, the ball's to one side, that opposite deep wing is going to be looking at blocks. But when it's up the middle like this, we really got all of this on our lap. I mean, obviously we're hoping for some help from back judge and umpire and possibly center judge. But really we have the best look as deep wings to be able to see this and to be able to not, kudos to this field judge for not just solely focusing on the ball and watching that block. And I mean, it's a hell of a call.
That's a great freaking call.
Yes, it is.
When I saw it the first time, I didn't even think he was blocked. It looked like he just fell down. When you watch from the line feed, like he just dumps into the guy. And then when you see I don't know if it was the ISO or the low end zone, he clearly blocks the guy.
Yep.
So then we talk about the penalty enforcement. We have an illegal block. I guess we need to understand who has the ball, right? Who recovered the ball, and I don't know if we finished that off on the field, because that's really close to illegal touching. Although I believe the ball did hit that 10-yard restraining line first before I can't tell what number that was, touched it.
Number 30.
30, yeah. So I think that's fine, but we do need to finish off this play and figure out who has the ball in order to determine how we're going to enforce this illegal block.
Well, let's go through the options then, Tuta. So let's say kicking team recovers it, legally, so it's gone 10 yards.
Yeah.
Obviously, but then they have a foul, so we get into the whole clean hands thing, right? So what do we do at that point if we have the kicking team recover?
Easy. We go on previous spot. That was during the kick.
Yep.
So we're going to go previous spot, and we're going to re-kick, 5-yard penalty. You know what? I don't even know what the signal is. I'm just sitting here thinking about it.
I was going to ask you if you knew that one, because I know.
I do not. I probably would just roll it up. Or maybe I won't even make a signal at all.
No, that's your signal. Signal 19, the false start signal.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, there you go.
All right.
So yeah.
If B gets it, if B recovers it, and we have this foul for illegal early block.
Is that with or without a illegal touch?
No illegal touch. It's just
illegal touch.
No
B
illegal
has the ball, then we can enforce the foul for illegal block at the succeeding spot, which is where Team B would next put the ball in play.
Correct.
I would love if we got this BSB also by Team B.
Yeah, that guy got deflated. I know.
I'm wondering if as a referee if I could see that, but I don't know.
And then think about that. That's a great pickup. So do you want that as a live ball or a dead ball foul? That's a really interesting consideration too.
Yes, because then it depends. I would want that as a live ball foul, because really the block occurred while everything was still going on.
Yeah.
It wasn't clearly at the end of the play. I would want that as a live ball foul. So then what we would have is that's prior to the recovery, obviously, if it's live ball.
That's the thing. How do you know that? So what you're hemming and hawing about is why I think it's better off as a dead ball foul personally. It's a cheap shot right near the pile. The guy's giving up on the play. I almost wonder if we're better off making that a dead ball foul, but that's just a discussion topic.
Yeah, I don't know if I would go that far.
Yeah, I don't know if we can stretch it that far.
I would clearly want to see some kind of recovery, because the ball, they still have the big pile up, and the dude got hit 10 hours ago. It's hard to really say that.
I think if we have that pile on the ground when that hit happens, I think I could agree with Brandon to that point. But when they still haven't even piled up yet, I think that'd be a big stretch for us.
I agree, Corey. I like how you said it better than me.
That's good. Just remember the written philosophy is if you have doubt, and you guys seem to not have doubt, so you don't need any stinking philosophy. But if you do, make it a dead ball foul.
Right.
Only if you have doubt.
It's easier here Tuesday in the office, I wasn't working the game in the windy conditions here in wherever this was.
Oh, yeah. Sitting in the VSG headquarters, it's easy to make it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
right.
The only option you guys didn't cover, which has been great so far, is you got what if, in fact, the ball was touched before it went 10 yards by that guy.
That's
and
right.
The ball, because it maybe did glance off that player. It appears perhaps it's probably the wind, honestly, but it appears that it may have kind of, changed rotation. Okay, whatever. That's why replay stopped the game. Now, what if you do have that as illegal touching? How do you handle the penalty enforcement then?
Ooh.
Well, then you'd have two. Then you'd have simple two options. So you'd have B could take it. The receivers could take it where it was illegally touched, or they could still. Since they did recover the ball, they can take it, plus the 5 yards from the subsequent spot. So it would all depend on what is more advantageous. So if they recover the ball at the 46, so they could get to the 41, but say it was touched at the 40, well, then obviously the touch would be, we'd want to go with that touch and give B the ball there.
Right. Well, I hear what you're saying, but I think the thing we want to make sure we do is finish the play.
Right.
Because if if the kicking team recovers it 10 yards, more than 10 yards beyond, even if they illegally touched it, that's still a legal recovery.
Correct.
So then there's really no option to tack that penalty on.
No,
because the penalty option is where the ball belongs to be, but that's
right.
not inclusive of that violation. It's crazy to a lot of us, including me. So very interesting to keep continuing and finishing that play and get a very thorough ruling on the field result of the play.
The only thing, and this is, we go over this with clock operators or at least I do with every single pregame, that this is the time where, I don't know if the clock started here or not. It should have, but that's the last thing that I ever remember on these onside kicks is to wind it first. And so, we do have a legal touch at some point, so we need to wind that clock. But I always tell the clock operators, this is the one time where we may take time off versus putting time on, because it doesn't look like the clock started. So we probably want to take a second or two off on this one. Just, I'm nerdy about the clock.
I couldn't even get the clock by you, could I?
No.
I figured somebody. I didn't know if anybody would catch it, but that's the last thing on this play is that we don't actually take 1 second off the clock. So it's really good. I figured you would have that, Corey.
Well, hey.
So what's interesting is we can talk philosophies on this. The umpire, I just noticed, did a great job. He had OFK. He had offside on the kicking team. And it looks like he threw a late flag. Obviously, we're treating the kicking team's restraining line as a plane if we have a short or onside type of kick. And it looks like the umpire evaluated that, used the philosophy, threw a late flag, and went with OFK as well. So shoot, we could potentially have OFK, IBK, and BSB all on the same play, and that'll be an interesting announcement and a lot of discussion.
Yeah, he does a good job. He reaches right away, but then he,
yes,
you can tell he processes that. Okay, I can't call it as a plane because it was a short kick.
That's right. Great job.
I didn't even notice that earlier. Good job.
Yeah. The only thing this crew, I would love for this crew to do better is finish the play. And we talked about that earlier because it doesn't look like anybody ever really determined who recovered the ball. And that's very important on this play.
Very important to get that result of the play, right? And this play becomes easy if you get the result and just work backwards. Backwards. Okay.
Yep.
Is Team A's recovery legal? Yes. Okay, great. So now we know if Team A recovered the ball legally, we cannot tack a Team B foul on. Sorry, we can't tack the Team A foul on and give the ball to Team B. If Team A is in legal possession of this ball, even if they touched it illegally before it went 10. Okay, we know that. Now, who are all the fouls on? And then we can just work backward from there. Obviously, on an onside kick, it's very rare you can have any type of foul during the return. So you can almost eliminate that as a penalty enforcement option. Most of these fouls, you guys like this as a live ball, blindside block or UNR or whatever that is. That's fine. That's whoever recovers it. If you got that as a live ball, then there's no way they basically got the ball with clean hands. So that's going to be previous spot, and it would offset with a Team A foul. I mean, there's a lot of things you could put together on this play to test your crew on how to handle these and how to communicate. And
mechanically on the BSB, I'd hate to pin it. I hate to pin it on guys that are 55 yards away, but
it's our
doesn't
call.
This have to come from R, H, and L?
We have nothing else going on.
Right.
We got to be thinking about that.
Yep.
Yeah. What a call by the field judge.
No kidding. That's a great call.
Honestly, there was so many examples of great officiating and great games this weekend. And we've highlighted a few of them, but we didn't even do the community justice. Great job all the way around. I just felt like it was a really good effort. A lot of tough plays too, right? I mean, a lot of tough plays, Daniel. You were sending some other ones around earlier today that we're going to get after here as we get into the spring and everything. But, man, just some great officiating all the way around. Way to step up, and let's continue to do that.
That's right. Well, let's step down off the platform and go home. How about that?
All right, everybody. Good night. Thanks for all the chats, all the polls, all the everything. This was fun.
Yeah, we got a lot of football coming up this weekend. First game's at 11 o'clock on Friday morning.
Ooh.
The Middle Tennessee
what?
Blue
Bahamas Bowl.
Raiders and the Toledo Rockets. I don't know what game
Is that Friday?
The Bahamas
Friday.
Bowl.
Friday.
Friday
Bahamas
11.
Bowl.
It is Bahamas
Hey,
Bowl.
Daniel, whip out your trivia. Where's your trivia? Never mind.
All right.
That's
all right.
enough of that.
All right, Brandon.
That's enough of that. All right. We are out. Good job, guys. Later.
Good night, y'all.
Have a great week.